She called it God's will. She said it wasn't personal, just divine correction. Like pain was something I was supposed to thank her for. And for a while, I believed maybe I deserved it. I stayed quiet. I played along. I let her rewrite the rules inside my own home. Until I realized, this wasn't faith. It was control. And the day I finally stood up wasn't loud. It was quiet. But it was the loudest silence she'd ever heard. The wedding was simple. Small guest list. Minimal fuss. No choreographed dances or dramatic speeches. Just vows, close family, a rented hall, and me, in the dress I picked alone. She didn't come dress shopping. She didn't ask to. She just made one comment, weeks earlier, when she saw a photo I'd sent her son. Looks a little ambitious. That was all she said. That was always her way, say it once, quietly, and let it poison the room. On the day of the wedding, she walked in with a glass of red wine in her hand. Not during dinner. Not near the bar. But right as I was standing under the arch, flowers in my hand, photographer snapping pre-ceremony shots. She smiled. Not at me, at my dress. Then she stepped closer. And in one smooth, almost graceful movement, she tripped. The glass slipped. The wine spilled. Directly across my chest. The silence hit before the stain did. Everyone froze. She gasped, a little too late. Oh no, she said flatly. White really is unforgiving, isn't it? My husband, well, fiancé at the time, laughed nervously. Mom, come on. It's not that serious. I didn't respond. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I turned, walked to the back room, and put on the backup dress. A plain one I'd packed just in case something happened. I hadn't thought this would be the something. When I returned, she was sipping another glass, white this time. She raised it in my direction. There. Looks more relaxed now. I said nothing. Because that's what I'd been taught to do. Keep the peace. Don't cause a scene. Let it go. Later, just before the reception, she passed by me in the hallway. Whispered. You know, I'm surprised. I really thought you'd make more of a fuss. Then she smiled. Not like someone who just ruined a moment, but like someone who had just won. She started coming by without calling. At first, it was once a week, then twice. Then she just showed up. Always with a reason. I was in the area. Thought I'd drop off some towels. The meat you buy is too fatty, brought you something better. She never knocked like a guest. She walked in like the owner. One time, I came home from work and found her rearranging my kitchen cabinets. She looked at me like I was late to my own house. You put the pots too high. It's not practical. You'll thank me later. I said nothing. Because my husband, now officially my husband, had warned me. She's just like that. She means well. Don't take it personally. I nodded. I let it go. Another day, she was reorganizing the fridge. You don't separate raw meat. That's not safe. She threw out half of what I bought the day before. No apology. No hesitation. I told my husband, this feels like too much. He sighed. She's adjusting. Give her time. It kept going. She corrected how I folded laundry. She moved my toothbrush into a different cabinet. She gave me unsolicited recipes and told me how his ex used to make it better. Once, she handed me a jar of pickles and said, you don't need to try to impress him. He's already married you. I stood there, holding the jar, wondering how many words I could swallow in a single afternoon. One evening, I came home to find our wedding album on the coffee table. Open. She was flipping through it like she owned the memories. She stopped at one photo. The backup dress. The one I wore after the wine. You should have worn something simpler from the start, she said. That one suits you better. More realistic. She said it like she was doing me a favor. I told my husband. He rubbed his forehead. Can you just not take everything so seriously? That was the moment I realized. It wasn't just her. It was him too. It was the first real joy in months. 2 pink lines. I didn't cry when I saw them. I just sat on the edge of the tub, holding the test in my hands, feeling something warm in my chest for the first time in what felt like forever. I waited a day to tell him. Planned a quiet dinner, nothing big. Just the two of us. His reaction. He blinked. Then smiled, kind of small. Wow. Already? Already. Like it was too soon to be excited. But he hugged me. Said he was happy. Said he'd tell his mom. He told her without me. I found out because she showed up the next day with prenatal vitamins I hadn't asked for and a list of foods you shouldn't be eating at all. No congratulations. Just, you're going to need to make some changes. At the next family dinner, she announced it casually before dessert. They're expecting. Hopefully, this one sticks. Everyone laughed like it was a joke. I smiled, pretended I didn't feel my stomach drop. Then came the pain. 8 weeks in, I woke up at 3:17 a.m. with something sharp twisting through my back and belly. It didn't feel like cramping. It felt like something being taken. By 7 a.m., it was over. No heartbeat, no flicker on the screen, just silence. And then the words. "We're so sorry. It happens sometimes." That night, I sat on the edge of the bathtub again. Same place. Different weight. She came by the next morning. Uninvited, of course. I was still in my robe. My eyes were raw. I hadn't spoken to anyone. Not even him. She walked into the living room like always. Put down a tray of bone broth. And said, "God knows what he's doing. Sometimes he corrects what isn't meant to be." I didn't move. Not a blink. Not a breath. I heard the words. I absorbed them. I bled through them. When she left, I threw the tray in the sink. It didn't shatter. I wish it had. I waited 3 days. 3 days of silence. 3 days of no phone calls. No texts. No apology. 3 days of my husband walking around like nothing had happened, like grief should be quick and quiet. On the 4th day, I called her. She picked up on the second ring. Yes. That's all she said. No warmth. No concern. No recognition of what she'd said last time we spoke. I didn't waste time. "Why do you hate me?" She didn't pretend to be confused. Didn't act surprised. Just took a breath and answered. "Because you took him from me." No hesitation. No filter. Just that. I didn't hang up. I didn't scream. I just let it settle in. She continued. "I raised him. Built him. You think a wedding gives you ownership? I gave him everything, and you gave him this. This. Meaning, the miscarriage. The home she didn't approve of. The dinners she didn't like. The woman she never wanted." She wasn't angry. She was calm. Like she was stating fact. I asked, "Does he know you feel this way?" She laughed. Soft, bitter. "He knows. He just doesn't say it out loud." That was the moment I felt something in me close. Not break. Not shatter. Close. Like a door that had been cracked open for too long, finally pulled shut. I didn't tell my husband what she said. I didn't need to. He was there the whole time. Not on the call, in the marriage. Watching. Listening. Saying nothing. That's what hurt more than her words ever could. He had chosen silence. And I'd chosen him anyway. Until now. I didn't pack everything. Just a bag. Some clothes. My laptop. Toothbrush. Left the framed photo from the wedding on the shelf. Left the casserole dish she gave us. Left the ultrasound printout in the drawer where it had always been. I didn't leave a note. I didn't slam the door. I just left. It was raining. Not enough to call it dramatic. Just enough to make the streets quieter than usual. I walked to my car, drove to a friend's place. She opened the door, took one look at me, and didn't ask questions. She made tea. Sat on the couch. Waited. And when I finally spoke, I didn't cry. I just said. I should have left the first time she smiled with that glass in her hand. Days passed. My husband didn't call. Not the first day. Not the second. Not the 5th. His silence said what his words never could. He had already made his choice. He just hadn't expected me to make mine. I found work again. Steady routine. Rented a place with soft light and a quiet corner to read in. I stopped setting a 4th place at the table. Stopped looking at the calendar like it owed me anything. For the first time in years, my life felt light. Not happy. But mine. And the best part? No one came looking. Not him. Not her. Maybe they thought I was waiting to be begged. But I wasn't waiting anymore. I was watching what peace looked like. And I wasn't going to give it up. I went back 7 months later. Not because I missed him. Not because I wanted answers. I already had all of those. I went back because I didn't like the way it ended. Like they were the ones who decided how the story closed. I wanted to lock that door myself. I didn't text. Didn't call. I just showed up one evening while I knew they'd be home. Same house. Same porch light. Same silence behind the front windows. I rang the bell. He opened the door. His face was older. Or maybe just less familiar. He didn't say my name. Just, "You look different." I nodded. "I feel different." He let me in. She was there, too, in the kitchen, pretending not to watch. I walked past them, into the living room, looked at the photo wall. Still had our wedding photo framed. Still had my smile hanging there like it meant something. I took it down, put it on the table. Didn't ask permission. He finally spoke. "Why now?" I looked at him. "Because I don't owe you a quiet exit anymore." She said something then, something half-breathed, half-dagger. "You've always been dramatic." I turned to her for the first time in almost a year. "And you've always been quiet when it counts. Except when it hurts someone." She opened her mouth. But this time, I didn't let her speak. "You told me God corrects mistakes. You should thank him. He just corrected mine." I turned, walked to the door, and before leaving, I said one more thing, not for her, but for myself. "You'll never hear from me again. And that's the kindest thing I'll ever give you." For weeks after, she tried to reach me. Texted from different numbers. Called from blocked lines. Sent birthday cards with no signatures, just Bible verses underlined too hard. He showed up once. I didn't open the door. Didn't even move from the couch. Somewhere between leaving and healing, I realized something. She didn't care that I left. She cared that I left on my own terms. That I didn't scream. Didn't beg. Didn't crumble like she expected. She needed me to look broken to feel whole. That's when I remembered the message she sent me after the miscarriage. It was still in my phone. Still time-stamped. Still cruel. Still clear. God corrects what isn't meant to be. I had read it 100 times. But this time, I read it like evidence. So I screenshotted it. Posted it in the old family group chat. No caption. No commentary. Just the truth, exactly as she wrote it. Then I left the chat. Blocked every number tied to their last name. I heard from someone weeks later, a cousin or a friend of a friend. Apparently, it started a fight. Relatives called her heartless. Some stopped speaking to her. She said the message was taken out of context. There was no context that helped. On her birthday, I filed for divorce. Sent the documents through her son. No note. Just the date. The signature. The boundary. He didn't respond. Didn't fight it. I think a part of him was relieved. Because finally, someone had made a decision for him. She didn't call again after that. He didn't either. They vanished in the exact way they lived in my life, loud in presence, hollow in substance. The divorce went through without resistance. No court battle. No letters. No last-minute change of heart. Just a legal severing of silence. He signed where he was told. She didn't even show. And that was fine. Because I wasn't looking for confrontation. I was looking for closure. But something kept bothering me, like a thread I hadn't pulled yet. The wedding dress. It was still in the storage closet. Packed away, untouched since the day she spilled the wine across the bodice. Ruined silk. Ruined memory. I thought about donating it. But I couldn't. There was something about keeping it that mattered now. So instead, I repurposed it. I found a local artist, one who worked in textile sculpture. Quiet woman. Knew how to turn fabric into statements. I handed her the dress and said, "Don't fix it. Tell the truth with it." 2 months later, she called me in. What she made wasn't beautiful. It was honest. The dress had been stitched into a wall-sized canvas. The stain, no longer hidden, had been expanded. Accentuated. Surrounded by embroidered words. Not mine, hers. White really is unforgiving. He just needs someone quieter. God corrects what isn't meant to be. All things she'd said to me over the course of 3 years. Threaded into silk. Permanent now. I booked a small gallery space for a weekend showing. Anonymous. No press. Just an open room and a title on the wall. Things that were said. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't have to. One of her friends came. Then another. Then a former church acquaintance. The gossip moved faster than I ever could. By Sunday, her face was white-hot with shame, and not a word of it came from me. She called again. Voicemail. "You don't understand what you've done." I deleted it. Because I understood perfectly. After the gallery show, she stopped calling. Not immediately. First came the voicemails. Some angry, some pleading. One, in a shaky voice. "You've humiliated me. That wasn't your story to tell." But that's the thing. It was. Every sentence stitched into that fabric, every cut, every stain, was mine to carry. And now, it belonged to the world too. Not for revenge. For record. So she couldn't rewrite it again. The gallery owner said it was one of the most visited weekend exhibitions they'd hosted that year. No names. No faces. Just words on fabric and one dress that looked like it had survived a war no one wanted to admit happened. She never showed up herself. But I know she saw the photos. Someone always sends the photos. 1 month later, a certified letter arrived at my apartment. It was from her. Neatly written. No return address. Inside were 2 pages of carefully worded legal threats, defamation, public harassment, emotional damage. But that's all it was. A letter. No lawsuit. No case. Because she knew, those weren't my words. They were hers. I had simply remembered them. I folded the letter, placed it in a box with the dried bouquet I never used, the hospital bracelet, and the guest list from a wedding no one truly celebrated. And then I moved on. Months passed. I stopped checking my blocked list. Stopped wondering if he'd ever say anything. Stopped flinching when I heard church bells on Sundays. Life got quiet. Not hollow. Just mine. I started painting. Nothing big, just small strokes, private canvases, color where there used to be gray. No more white silk. No more red wine. No more corrections. I did run into her once. Briefly. Grocery store. She saw me before I saw her. Our eyes met across the produce aisle. She opened her mouth, closed it again, turned, walked out. No words. Finally, the silence I had waited for all along.